Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and thank you for tuning in to Canal Algérie's Nightly News. On to the headlines. As per the guidelines of the President of the Republic to combat speculation, important quantities of coffee with a view to creating troubles at the level markets are seized. In its last issue, the Al-Jaish magazine evokes the resounding success of the military parade held on the 70th anniversary of November Revolution, an event with a paramount symbolic importance. And the participants in Geneva International Conference sound the alarm regarding the delay of the decolonization process in Western Sahara. Welcome back. We begin with tonight's top story, where the large quantity of coffee was seized. 23,000 tons of green coffee imported and stored in several ports across the country, including 6,000 tons at the port of Algiers. The seized coffee had not been cleared through customs by the importers, who intended to create a shortage of this commodity on the market and harm the national economy. This operation, which was closely supervised by the Minister of Interior Trade and Market Regulation Tayyip Zitouni and the Director General of Customs Abdelhafid Bakhouch, aimed to put an end to the activities of traffickers threatening the stability of the national market. All the seized quantities have been confiscated. In its latest issue, Al-Jaish editorial reviewed the grandiose parade of the 70th anniversary of the glorious November Revolution, a major success up to the high symbolism of the event, as highlighted by the head of state. Manan Maafa has all the details.
In its latest issue, Al-Jaish magazine stated that our country remains immersed in the festivities marking the 70th anniversary of the glorious liberation revolution, highlighted by the Grand Military Parade organized by the People's National Army on November 1st, a parade reflecting the magnitude and symbolism of this historic event. The President of the Republic, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces, Minister of National Defense, affirmed that this military parade embodied the sacred bond of cohesion between the people and their army, which originates from the people themselves. The editorial noted that the President of the Republic praised the People's National Army and the security forces at the borders for defending the territory, ready to sacrifice themselves and to preserve the Shuhada's legacy and protect the Republic. A parade that once again demonstrated the immense human, organizational and material capabilities of the People's National Army, the worthy heir of the National Liberation Army, solidifying its role as the unyielding shield against all hostile maneuvers, plots and schemes, Al-Jaish magazine emphasized in its editorial. Army General Saeed Shingariha, Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense and Chief of Staff of the PNA, stated that the organization of this parade, benefiting the 70th anniversary of the glorious liberation revolution, presented an honorable image of the Army and Algeria. And he also added that this was an opportunity to renew the pledge of loyalty to the martyrs by safeguarding their legacy. The editorial noted that the parade showcased the PNA's progress in development, modernization, professionalism and readiness to ensure Algeria's security, supporting efforts to build a new Algeria. This unprecedented dynamism is further bolstered by the President's appointment of a new government, including Army General Saeed Shingariha as Minister Delegate to the Minister of National Defense. The editorial emphasized that strengthening Algeria's foundations and enhancing its prestigious standing on regional and international stages is a heavy responsibility, requiring relentless efforts to ensure its continued success. It also stressed that preserving Algeria's security demands the mobilization of all its loyal citizens.
On to the cabinet meeting chaired by the Premier Nadir Al-Arbawi, which was devoted to the examination of a bill related to insurance in light of the directives of the President of the Republic during the Council of Ministers of the 22nd of May 2024 related to the reinforcement of the governance of the regulation of the sector of insurance, the expansion of its scope of competence in order to address new and emerging risks, as well as the improvement of services provided to those covered by insurance particularly by promoting the remote sale of insurance products and digital insurance. Additionally, the government listened to a presentation of the control of urban planning and the issue of unfinished constructions. Several strategic axes were discussed aimed at strengthening the compliance of projects and ensuring harmonious development of urban spaces. The government also received a communication or presentation on the improvement and modernization of public services in the sectors of labor, employment, and social security. This includes measures taken for the modernization of services and the widespread adoption of digitization to combat bureaucracy. Finally, the government continued its review of the regulatory framework concerning the shortage and distribution of petroleum products aimed to encourage competition and promote professionalism in this sector. In his capacity as the special envoy for the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, the Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs, the National Community Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, is in Bujumbura in the Republic of Burundi, an unofficial visit. In the framework of the efforts to reinforce the brotherly relations and cooperation between both countries, as well as the coordination and consultation on the most important dossiers and continental issues. The Minister of State should be received by the President of Burundi to convey a message written by his brother, the President Abdelmajid Tebboune. The top Algerian diplomat will also hold working sessions with his Burundian counterparts. Today, we commemorated the 64th anniversary of the December 11th demonstrations. On the occasion, the Minister of War Veterans and Rights Holders, El Aider Biga, presided over a ceremony at the Resistance Square where he laid a wreath of flowers in memory of the Shuhada in the presence of the Speaker of the National People's Assembly, the President of the National Civil Society Observatory, members of Muslim Scouts, and the Governor of Algiers. Additionally, a historical conference was organized in the presence of university scholars, students, and war veterans. The minister affirmed that Algeria remains committed to its positions in favor of fair humanitarian causes while taking steady steps towards renewal and development, stressing the importance of these demonstrations to the revolution. In a sad news, the former coach of the national football team, Khalid Mahyiddin, passed away yesterday. He was buried after the Dhuhr prayer in Al Aliya Cemetery in the presence of his family, close ones, and sports figures, in addition to many citizens. The President of the Republic had presented his condolences to the family of the late, recalling the many achievements he had with the national team, praising his values and morals and loyalty to national sports. On to the operational report of the People's National Army's activity in the past week. In the context of the fight against terrorism, thanks to the efforts of the PNA security services, terrorists named respectively Bayawi Shafai, known as Abu Tahir, and Fulani Ali, surrendered to the military authorities of Burj Baji Mukhtar. Both terrorists were in possession of 2 Kalashnikov submachine guns, 9 loaded magazines, and other items. In the same context, during a search operation in Burj Baji Mukhtar, PNA detachment recovered a heavy machine gun of the Doshka type 12.7mm calibers, while other PNA detachments arrested 7 support elements, terrorist groups, during separate operations across the national territory. In the framework of the fight against organized crime and the continuation of the tireless efforts aimed at countering the scourge of drug trafficking in our country, combined detachments of the PNA intercepted, in coordination with the different security services in operations across the military regions, 36 drug traffickers and averted attempts to introduce 12 quintals and 31 kilograms of processed kief through the borders with Morocco, while 1.5 kilograms of cocaine and 1,235,500 psychotropic tablets were seized during separate operations across the national territory. In Tamras, Burj Baji Mukhtar, Ingizam, Janet, and Ilizi, detachments of the People's National Army arrested 596 individuals and seized 49 vehicles, 385 generators, 337 jackhammers, 5 metal detectors, as well as quantities of mixture of raw gold and stones, explosive, detonation tools, and other equipment used in illegal gold mining operations. On the other hand, 23 other individuals were arrested and 4 hunting rifles, 21,900 liters of fuel, 83 quintals of tobacco, as well as 21 tons of foodstuffs intended for smuggling and speculation were seized during separate operations across the national territory. Similarly, border guards sorted at the level of our national coast attempts at illegal immigration and proceeded to save 480 individuals aboard traditionally made boats, while 20 illegal immigrants of different nationalities were arrested across the national territory. And communique. You're still tuning in to Canal Algérie. Coming up in our news. Timi Moon, a land of cinema production with a famous movie inspired from the Arabian Nights being filmed there. International developments now. At today's Geneva International Conference marking the 64th anniversary of the UN General Assembly's resolution on eradicating colonialism, participants unanimously called for the implementation of Resolution 1514 granting independence to colonized peoples and urging international community to enable the Sahrawi people to exercise their right to self-determination and independence. Report by Khalida Hal-Jilali, taken up by Manal Maafa.
From the United Nations platform in Geneva, the international stance remains unified in support of the last colony in Africa. It also reaffirms the ongoing responsibility of the UN regarding the decolonization of the 17 regions listed as non-self-governing territories, a responsibility that remains constant and unaffected by progress, with Western Sahara being at the forefront.
In our participation here, we thank the Polisario Front, who has organized this very important conference as we commemorate the adoption of the Resolution 1514. So really, Namibia's hope is to see the Western Sahara people smile one day, because we know how it is, how it has been during our darker days of our liberation struggle. That is exactly what is happening in Western Sahara, and we will stand with the people of the Sahrawi as they are seeking their right to self-determination and independence.
Fundamentally, the 1960 declaration on the granting of independence to colonial countries and people makes an important point, which is that the tool, main instrument for decolonization is the self-determination of colonial peoples. And of course that's a connection with the cause of Western Sahara and the Sahrawis, because indeed in Sahara you have a case of decolonization and a requirement of self-determination.
Support for the liberation cause also highlights international law and the violations faced by colonized peoples, with the Sahrawi issue being a key focus at today's UN forums. Experts warned of the serious consequences of the continued delay in decolonizing Western Sahara, stressing the potential repercussions for the security and stability of the Northern African region.
When we talk about human rights, we cannot talk about the people of Western Sahara without understanding the absolute atrocity and genocide that is taking place in Palestine. This is all happening on our watch. We must, as a human race, find it in ourselves to fight for justice, to fight for humanity, and to fight for the human rights that belong to each and every person. It doesn't matter if they're Palestinian or Sahrawi.
Experts also hailed the victories achieved in favor of the just cause of the Sahrawi people, which highlighted the United Nations position in revealing the reality of double standards and the use of different measures by powers within the Security Council, working to secure their interests at the expense of international law and UN legitimacy.
The Moroccan people have had enough. This time, the farmers of Souka Ait Baha region took to the streets to voice their anger and the multiple attempts made by the Makhzen to silence them and force them to abandon their legitimate demands. Full story with Minisa Kepash.
While the rest of the world celebrates the International Day of Human Rights, Moroccans are suffocating from the precarious life imposed by the regime. A regime that will do all it takes to silence the tragedy faced by its people. As the situation worsens at all levels, this time it was the farmers' role to take the streets to denounce the inhuman working conditions and the miserable wages. Unfortunately, despite being peaceful, the demonstrations were faced with repression and violence, a typical move from the Makhzen, who didn't hesitate to use violent means, causing serious injuries to those taking part in the protest movement. This type of strategy only confirms the incapability of the regime to handle such situations, and respond to the concerns of its people. But despite the violent means mobilized to repress the social crisis, people accompanied by organizations are determined to voice their anger against this exploitation.
Listed as Universal Heritage in 1997 by the UNESCO, the National Park of Georgia, located in Tizi Ouzou province, has served as a sanctuary for wildlife and a source of fascination for nature lovers for decades. More details with Melissa Kemesh.
These beautiful mountains covered with breathtaking greenery can only be found in the National Park of Georgia, which will soon be covered with a white coat of snow. Located in Tizi Ouzou province, this natural reserve was registered by the UNESCO in 1997 as a universal heritage.
The view here is gorgeous. The mountains and rivers are breathtaking, especially the river located behind this mountain.
It's a beautiful place. We are doing all we can to preserve it. People come from everywhere to discover it.
Apart from its beauty, several athletes come here to train, many famous ones as well, such as Makhloufi.
Mountains, rivers, and even caves can all be found in this park, an added value and beauty to discover by nature lovers.
We have several zones, including ones devoted for scientific researches and another zone for all kinds of activities, such as mountain climbing.
كممارسة الرياضات الجبلية والسياحة البيئية.
The park shelters rare species such as hyenas and raptors.
A pure natural sanctuary for mountain lovers and all those seeking an escape far from the city life.
Now let's head south towards Timimoun with its breathtaking landscapes and tranquil beauty. The province becoming an important destination for cinema producers. A film inspired from the Arabian Nights is being filmed there to the great joy of the actors and the region's inhabitants. Here's Melissa Lila Malaman.
A unique charm and landscape straight out of a fairy tale, Timimoun has become a favorite destination for cinema professionals, with the new movie Le Conte des Mille et Une Nuits, or The Arabian Nights, being yet another movie to choose it as its set. The film crew will spend 3 weeks working on this project in collaboration with the Ministry of Culture.
The Arabian Nights was my main inspiration for this movie, which dates back to the 8th century, a well-known yet sometimes not known enough artwork that concerns Algeria as much as other countries. Timimoun was chosen because of its beauty and tranquility and how time seems to slowly yet beautifully pass by.
I was casted as the king's chamberlain. The king passed away, leaving no heir for the throne. So according to the custom, all the suitable inhabitants leave the kingdom towards a certain path, and whoever makes it back first becomes king. Coincidence makes it that Zomorrod comes from said path disguised as a man.
This is my first time as a main actress in a feature film. Despite the challenging weather, here in Timimoun, we're all enjoying filming this movie.
An international crew is at the origin of this project, with the woman as the photography director, a first in Algeria.
I'm glad I was given the opportunity to work on this project, and I want to thank the technical team and the inhabitants of Timimoun for their hospitality.
This shoot promises to further show Timimoun's beauty. The Arabian Nights foreshadows the release of an unforgettable movie soon on your TV sets.
We wrap up our news with this beautiful white scenery marking the beginning of winter with a white enchanting blanket and a promising agricultural season. Enjoy and bye-bye for now.